Oh, right. So, first question, I guess, is um, did you get any notification beforehand that they were reviewing your employment at that meeting last night?
No, and the only thing that I knew was about a week earlier, I had talked with an attorney in the general counsel's office and someone from the HR department, and they said, we've had a report that you and your wife are in videos and have written these books. Is that true? And of course, I said, yes, it is. And I explained that we do that as private citizens, not as the chancellor of the university. There's no references to the university there. And that was something that we pay for ourselves. We don't profit from it. And, they seem to be satisfied with those answers. So I thought, well, life goes on. So it was quite shocking last night to get an email that said, you're no longer the chancellor of the university, your office is locked, and you got to call the chief of police to get your belongings out.
Why do you think it was such a harsh reaction after you said that that conversation had gone well?
I really don't know, and I'm puzzled because, the regents have a policy that's called the Commitment to Academic Freedom and Freedom of Expression, and it's designed to not only protect but encourage people to explore controversial topics and issues, and that's what we're doing with adult sexuality in our books and our videos. So I was quite surprised that they wouldn't say, okay, we don't agree with this, but you have the right to do it. And I think this sends a very troubling signal to everybody in the universities of Wisconsin system that, the regents really aren't about free speech, even though they claim to be, but they're not.
So, was when you got that email saying that you were terminated, did they give that reason that you had been participating in online pornography?
There's some vague references in there to, not behaving in the way a chancellor ought to behave. And I think that's a very subjective matter. And one could argue that a chancellor ought to be leading the effort to have free speech and free expression. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
So, do you see, what you're doing is do you see that as any conflict of interest with your job as chancellor?
No, I don't.
So, earlier you had written books with your wife and you guys used pseudonyms. Why that decision?
Well, that was the very thing I'm talking about. We didn't want to make this something that was about the university or my role as chancellor. We wanted it to be about ourselves, and we're a husband and wife and private people.
So, why now? I think some of the videos have been maybe posted in the last couple of months. Why now the decision to start posting those?
There are a number of factors there, and one of them is my wife had some setbacks in her career and some very bad people in higher education that didn't want her to succeed, and so she was thinking about where do I go from here. I was also at a point where I've been chancellor for almost 17 years. Where do I go from here? And the person that edits our videos, he's a great professional. He said, why don't you put them out more widely and see what happens? And so we did experiment with that and got a really amazing response in terms of the number of people who want to see them. And I think because of that, somebody out there said, oh, I recognize him and I'm going to report this to the regents. And I think that's really hypocritical because anybody who sees our videos would be on a site where they want to see that kind of material and they're not objectionable to it.
So, you kind of were mentioning this earlier with, chancellors should be leading the conversation about the First Amendment rights. So, do you think pornography should be more heavily featured in the educational sphere?
I think that pornography is amazingly popular. Some of the sites that we're on are among the top 20 most popular websites in the world. And so clearly people are watching pornography and talking about it. And so I think it's something that merits study. And the books that we've written certainly provide some insight that I don't think you're going to see anywhere else. And, it's something that I'm very confident our students are quite interested in.
So, do you plan to take legal action against the Board of Regents over your termination?
We've had people reach out to us today who are experts in First Amendment issues, and we just have been traveling and talking to a lot of media people because we think this is an important story to tell, and we're grateful that you are telling it. And we haven't had the time to really work through what might be appropriate moving forward. So we'll look at that in the coming days.
Okay, so maybe within the next week or so, you might have a decision on what you want to do moving forward.
We'll see, yeah.
Okay. So what do you think then that the future for you, what does that look like? Do you continue, or do you plan on continuing to make this content? Will you be fighting for your position or trying to be a faculty member at UWL still? What's the future looking like?
Well, I had announced that I was ready to transition into a faculty role, and I remain very eager to do that and excited about it. I'm just concerned that in the letter that I received from President Rothman, he said something about asking the interim chancellor to investigate my tenure, and having an outside law firm do that. So that's a very ominous reference, and I think that should trouble all of our faculty who have tenure. And we think that's important because it protects us from these kinds of situations where people want to tell us you can't talk about this or that.
Have you been getting support from your colleagues at the higher education level, either from UWL or other chancellors?
Well, it's been amazing the messages I've received from around the country in support, and people really think this is important. They say, hang in there, keep going. There have been some students who've written, but the sad thing is, I'm told that our people on campus have been instructed not to talk to me or to talk to you, the media. And I think that's really unfortunate, and certainly not the way that I led the campus for over 16 years. I always thought, if you have something on your mind, let's hear it, let's speak out. But apparently now we're in a mode of, you can't say things. And that, again, is not healthy for a university.
Why do you think the board doesn't see this as appropriate?
I have no idea. I think that reasonable people would say, okay, this is not something I'm interested in. I don't agree with it, but I don't have to read it. I don't have to watch it. And I can criticize it, but let's agree to disagree and move on. And instead, they've removed me from my position, which I think they'll have some explaining to do as how that squares with their commitment, so-called commitment, to free speech and free expression.
So what is your reaction to this national attention you're now getting?
It's unexpected, and I think it's important that people are responding to free speech issues, and I hope that the conversation continues and even grows louder.
Do you think this more national attention, it's not going to reflect poorly on the university at all, or do you think the university will be able to continue doing business as it has?
I think it will help the university, and I say that because in 2018, we had an actress, Nina Hartley, who is also a writer and a sex educator. She came and spoke, and it created quite a stir and was covered by the media, not only nationally but around the world. And after her appearance, enrollment went up. Now, I can't say that that caused it to go up, but it certainly didn't hurt. And I think people are looking for a college or a university where these kinds of issues are discussed, and we're talking about things that are modern and progressive. So I don't think this is going to hurt our reputation at all.
Would we be able to get that Rothman letter that he sent you? Would you be able to send that to us at all?
Sure, I'm not at my computer, so I don't know when you need it.
Whenever you can. It's just whenever you can, whenever it's convenient for you. That's okay.
The only problem is I think there's a freedom of information request there.
Okay.
And so I have to sort of let that go through the process. But if you were to contact our records custodian, and her name is Robin Tuckson, if you look on the website, you can probably find her, Robin Tuckson, and make a request for that letter. You would get it.
And she's with UWL?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Do you have anything else that you want to add while we have you on the phone?
No, I think you've asked some great questions. And again, I'm grateful that you're covering this story and letting people know what's happening. And I think there will be more to say. And when there is, please don't hesitate to let me know that you want to talk again.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you again so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Allison. Have a great night.
You as well. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.